Hi, it's Catherine from The Way of the River. And I'm thinking today, partly because of some offerings that I have coming up, but also just because I think about this stuff all the time. I'm thinking today about the benefits of circular spiral calendars. I grew up in the Roman Catholic tradition. I was very devout and very involved in liturgical music, not the like 1980s guitar playing folk music related music, but like old school classical liturgical music. And I was very connected to the liturgical calendar. In Catholicism, you start with Advent before Christmas, Christmas season. Um, some ordinary time is sprinkled in there, a couple holidays. Eventually, you have Lent, Holy Week, Easter, the Easter season, Transfiguration and Ascension, and eventually you have some more ordinary time. And it spirals around because every Lent is Lent. But the Lent of 1997 was not the same as the Lent of 1984. And so, none of which were the same as 2026, or neither of which. So you end up with spirals, right? The shape is the same, but the year is moving. And in the Wiccan tradition of which I am a part, we celebrate the Wheel of the Year, as many other pagans and Wiccan flavored pagans in particular do. We have several candidates for New Year's. In many traditions, Samhain at the end of October is considered to be the new year. But as far away as the spring equinox, as far away in the calendar as the spring equinox, you can also find New Year's, because that's when you have the beginning of Aries, the sign of Aries in the zodiac, which is the first one of the zodiacal months, beginning in March. So the cycles of the year not only relate to the agrarian Celtic folk traditions that they hearken back to and are related to some currently celebrated, for example, in Ireland and Scotland. So not only do they relate to those historical or traditional ideas, like the harvest of grains at Lammas in August, like the preparing for the midwinter hardships at Samhain. So you have that, but you also have, how do we practice them now? How do we engage with them now? What does it mean to live in a place that doesn't really have four seasons? For example, my friends in Tucson, Arizona are often telling me that spring is like 3 days, and then you're to the much warmer season of summer there. What is it like in your place to, for example, have celebrated Beltane at the beginning of this month, which in the Northern Hemisphere is traditionally considered the beginning of summer, right? It's just the little tendrils of summer. It's the time when the spring green leaves are trading off their dresses for the darker summer colors. So, and Beltane is for some people another new year because it's the season of the beginning of festivals. But the thing that I love about the Wheel of the Year, most especially, is the way each holiday refers to a universal human experience: despair or grief, or the mix of joy and mourning that comes when we connect with ancestors at Samhain, hope in the dark of midwinter, delight at Beltane, offering and sacrifice at Lammas. So each year we might experience Samhain feelings around Beltane. We might have a death in the family in the spring, but our communal celebrations of human experiences, feelings, states, thoughts, beliefs come up every year at particular times. So, one of the things that I really love to look at is how do we experience what is happening in nature around us as we experience our own lives and stages of life. So, I'm going to be teaching about this over the course of the next year, beginning at the very end of July, like the 26th, I think. Beginning at the end of July, I'm going to host a ceremony for each of the 8 holidays. So roughly every 6 weeks. The solstices, the equinoxes, as we handle them in the Northern Hemisphere, and then the cross-quarter days of Samhain, Imbolc, Beltane, and Lammas. And we're going to have a celebration and observance of the holiday, and then also a class with some teaching about the history, lore, and universal human experiences, as well as how do I practice this holiday? What do I bring? And what might be useful for you? So keep an eye out, and feel free to sign up for my email list. You can find me at thewayoftheriver.com, and be thinking about how you might like to connect, particularly with the Gifts of the Light at Midsummer, which is a standalone event that I'm offering, and you can find that on thewayoftheriver.com. I hope that you're having a delightful day at this end of Beltide, and that if your days off are on Saturday and Sunday, that they are a lovely restorative time for you. And if you're working, may work not be too hard, too annoying, or too filled with mean people. Be well, friends.